And we are recording. Careful what you say.
Ooh,
Okay,
Hey,
sweet.
nerd.
so I'll post it on YouTube later tonight. Basically,
Nice.
I'm not
um,
joking. That's how that's how it works.
Sweet. So kind of what we've looked at is that this game is just a one piece of like we're trying to finish this. We want this to be like our final dissertation, like the final product. So one of it is like, yeah, we got great ideas and dreams, but it's like, how do we pace it out? So I'm kind of looking at the classes and sets of 2 months basically. And it would be for this 2 months, it's we finish level one, two, and three, integrate the three levels into one game. And using some of the feedback that came from Jake, it was some of the things we had discussed that could be a problem, especially Gabrielle pointed out. Like you could just memorize what colored pills go together, and that's how you pass a
I
level. So some of
100%
his
did that.
feedback.
I was gonna say that
Yes.
when I played your game, that's 100% what I did.
So one of some of the suggestions from
We
both.
did we did that. So far, we just did that in order to like give that general idea of how the gameplay would work. But the ultimate idea is to be able to spawn the pills, and then be able to spawn the text and spawn the color, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Have it all
no.
eventually be random.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all you need is a couple instances of variable reinforcement, and you can keep it as is. So they get used to matching colors, and all of a sudden there's two colors that are the same, and then they have to start reading. You do that a couple times, suddenly they're reading every single time.
Right.
There you go. I think part of it also was the idea of the scaffold support, like taking off the color coding. Like that was, I think, part of the very beginning levels. I'm just going to give them an idea of what to do. But going through some of the other things he said was, making the pills larger, maybe slowing down the rotation. People can actually read it, which kind of makes sense in a weird way. But you're saying leaving like the target area small, so it's still like you're not picking up the big pill, you just hit it in the middle.
Right.
One of the parts that kind of dovetail into what Steven's suggestion is, and something me and Tara actually talked about the other day, is honestly, this game really should be designed for a cell phone because that's probably how nurses are going to be able to practice and play. So the idea of like the controls being on a cell phone is a whole other level. But I think that ties in what Steven had said about using the arrows. Like, yeah, of course we should use the arrows. Why would we use the arrow? So I think that's some like Steven made it seem super simple to fix. So that seemed really exciting in there.
Yeah, so
But the idea would.
I would just encourage you real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. I would encourage
No,
you
no,
to
no.
keep with what you had though, because like the web browser is way more accessible than a phone. Because a web browser can be run on a phone and a computer. The way that you can get both is that if you have a touch overlay, so that you can click the arrow keys. That way, when you're using a phone, it would just be touch, and then when you're doing a computer, you would just go to the keyboard because that's available. It'd be programming wise really, really simple.
Awesome. That's
I
perfect.
love
Having the
hearing that.
versatility. The versatility would be huge because I can already tell you that the nurses are going to play on their phone and they're going to play on their computer. So having both would just be like chef's kiss indeed.
So I guess some of the goals for this term would be getting the game kind of going. Once we figure out the pattern, how the levels are built, I think once we master that, building more levels shouldn't be as tricky as these first ones. Then we're talking about a June and July set of classes and making sure we have at least a third of the courses finished by then. Because there's supposed to be 200 pills, and the next screen shows a little bit more of a breakdown. That's where I also was talking about having a version that can run on the phone, which I think Steven just solved in 2 seconds, which is perfect. August, September, finishing the next third of the games, and then by November, December, having basically the whole game finished. And I'm just guessing, I'm assuming we're gonna have to like do a whole marketing, design thing, all that other crap, and that would give some time. Because we know at some point in December, we're supposed to present. And the problem is, the further out we are from now, the less details we have. So the freedom is we can just assume eventually something like that will happen.
Right.
Now, before we move on to kind of breaking it down a little bit more succinctly, just some things to consider, especially since we have reformed as a new team, which is great. But what are some of the higher priorities on this list we're going to see? And now that we have more hands working on the game, moving the game around and keeping the files in sync, I think is going to become a bigger issue. Especially once all the pieces are integrated into a single game, as opposed to right now where they're broken up. So it's kind of easier. Like, hey, I'm working on this bouncy box, you work on that part. Not been a big problem. But I think moving forward, we need to figure out that system. And again, they're kind of divided people up almost into pairs: parent developers, parent designers. What are the ways you guys will want to work together? And knowing your individual style, And in your partner style, what are 3 ways you can support each other?
Yeah. Real quick about that. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you. I just want to make sure you don't move on to the next point. So along those lines, are you guys using Unity Colab or are you using the Google Drive strategy?
Up to this point, it's just
Google Drive.
Google Drive.
Yes.
Do you guys have an unlimited Google Drive? Are you? How many gigs do you guys have available?
I don't know. I haven't
You said
looked.
you have a.
Yeah, I pay to have 100 gigs, and I have 50 free. I can have 60 if I delete the Purple Team project, which I'm willing to do. Yeah, and so each instance of the Purple Team's project was 4 gigabytes, and I wanted to have 3 versions available at all times for the sake of redundancy. So that's like 12 gigabytes at all times. So that's the entire Google Drive folder.
It adds up quick.
Yeah, and so if we could switch to mine, I think it'd be a lot more efficient for everyone.
Sounds great, but I also think the idea, though, is up to this point, because the game is basically 3 parts, like Tara could work on one part and Talal was working on the other one. And when I needed it, basically Tara sent me the whole package, I worked on it, sent her back the whole package. But once we put the game together, how are we going to keep working on it at the same time? And I know that Unity has a collaborative thing, we've never used it, so.
Yeah, we spent a whole, 24 hours trying to figure it out. And I think it's worth trying, but I don't think it's worth sticking with. Basically, we in my group, we went through every single option available. It was just too tricky to get working, but when it did work, it was beautiful. It was like we were in the same room. And so I think...
That's cool.
Oh, my dog's saying hi. I think it's worth giving a shot for maybe an afternoon, but if it takes longer than that, I wouldn't sink any more time into it, because that thing is a time sink. But one way to get around it that we could discover in ours is delegating tasks, which you guys are already doing by splitting between developers and designers. And 2, separate scenes can be added as long as it's the same Unity version. So if one person makes a scene, the person makes another scene, you load between them, you're good. That said, your design kind of lends itself to not doing that. So another option that you could do is if you build distinct assets that don't interact with each other using separate C# scripts, then you can just drag and drop between them as long as you're using the same Unity version. So
Okay.
I think that second one's probably the better one.
I just from my thinking, I almost feel like, especially when we get to once the games are all put together in one, and oh wait, I need to make this change, or she's making that change. Maybe we need some kind of system where when you grab it from the Google Drive, somehow mark whatever changes you made and put it back with the version change. So people know what to pick up next.
Yeah, you can have a pending, a folder that's essentially like the collaboration thing where we say this one's check out, you can check it out, or you can say this one's, we can have folders named basically check in and check out, and then put them in there accordingly.
I almost think, though, because of everyone's work habits, it might not be a big issue. Because Talal is the night owl, Ethan is a morning person, Tara's all over the place, Gabrielle's all over the place. I don't think it's going to, hopefully it won't be. But that was just a thought, just to keep in mind.
But you're right to focus on this now, because you don't want to focus on it later when it's too late,
I think we do a pretty good job at communicating in Discord. We can even have something have a designated Discord channel that's
updates.
I'm working on this right now, don't fucking touch it,
Yeah. I'm going to show my screen in just 45 seconds, because I want to show you what my team did in terms of updates, because even if you don't have Unity Collab working, you can still, if you're in the same Unity Collab team, see the updates that are done, even if you can't. I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you in 45 seconds when it's done loading.
Oh. Oh, why I see everyone's faces now? Oh, that's bigger. All right.
Hey again.
Hi. Can you guys see me?
I can't see your screen.
Oh. Maybe if I turn on my camera.
There's the bride to be.
Oh my god. Today was all about here's rings to look at. I'm like, yes, no. And then I scroll up and see the price, and oh no.
Oh no.
But whatever.
We did moonstones because we're dykes. And it doesn't matter because we're dykes.
All right.
You know?
While mine's loading, can we go back to what you were saying, Jacinto, about the
Sure.
schedule?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna kind of just go back to this other part.
Mhm.
I kind of moved on just to the next screen. I think it's showing. Yes. Okay, good. So this came from the game design doc, and I was using this to kind of break up the production of the game. So like the first red sections, I'm saying that we can have that done by the end of week 3, which is of course the first 3 set levels of the game, but also all the changes we need to put in, like the UI changes, the like Steven suggested about like a splash screen that has some background story, whatever we can change and have that done. And then once we're complete with that, then by week 5, have another set of levels done. So the 2 red boxes and blue boxes, if we can have that completed, then we can rewrite our GGP, and then we have our growth show, and we have a functional game. That's for this class. And then I'm saying the other stuff we're going to put off until like our other classes at some point. You know, the next term, we'll try to see how it goes. And one more screen before we switch over, is I kind of took some of the notes, most of the notes from between Jacob and Steven, and kind of put them in here. So the red boxes are the things to get done by week 3. The ones I have in dark, like bolded, those are ones I think we can do with the training we've had from class. Like the resizability of the pills and stuff. I think the tech stuff, that seems doable. The sound, putting bomb control, like, yeah, we had a lesson on that. The pill color contrast, I'm like, I just figured out the pills, so I think you know how to do that. But there's other ones, like combining the 3 games into one, I think somebody will know how to do that, but I'm just saying it's not in everybody's skill.
When you say combine 3 games into one, you mean the matching, the platforming, and the other one?
Yes.
Yeah. I got some notes on that, but let's continue that for later.
Perfect. Yeah. Then like the button design consistency, that was a note from Jacob. Like one of them, I guess he said it was cool. The others that had the cool effect. All right. The pre-game intro, these pinkish ones come from Steven, so he can provide more like the intro to the game, like some screens that kind of explain what's happening, and the updated controller use, like using the arrows instead of the letters. And then I put on preparing for on-screen controls, whatever that would mean. And I think you already said that was pretty straightforward. The bottom red box, the hover effect on the buttons was the one thing I think Jacob said. Oh, he suggested pronunciation of the drugs. Like, he should say the drug name.
Not bad idea. Yeah, I mean, I think fitting that in would definitely help. That would add a barrier for us, unless we know any nurses.
We've had Tara works at a hospital.
Hey,
works at school, I should say.
Okay, all right.
And then the back button on the reference page, he did point that out. He said, "When I got to the reference page, there's no way to go back to the game, so I had to respawn it, restart it, whatever." And the scaled menus and text, so that it scales correctly. That's.
I think it's a ton of this is going to be me and Gabriella doing the UI work since we're the designers. So
you'd also
we'll go over that in a bit into your 10 and 11 slides 10 and 11 and allocate that to us because I think that's going to be a big part.
So you guys split the task between people doing UI and people doing gameplay?
What's that?
You guys split the task between people doing UI and people doing gameplay?
Yeah, so we've got it split up between the designers and developers. So designers will be UI, like creating prefabs. So a lot of these design issues, like the readability of text, I think that falls under the umbrella of the designers as well. And then the developers, which I put you as after I saw your email, Stephen, because you said you're happy to help out wherever, and I was like, we need that.
I'm best to use my skill sets. I am very, very. I just have no visual spatial skills at all. So keep me away from anything visual spatial. Make me a programmer. I'll figure out the game. I'm super into that. In addition, I like sound design, and I'm a musician. I've been playing music for 20 years now. And so if you guys make your own soundtracks or something, I'd like to get in with that. But yeah, those two, for sure. And then also, I'm a science teacher, and so I've got some, thoughts on how to, present information from a scientific perspective. So.
Just to be clear, like on paper, we have our roles, but in reality, we all kind of just support each other. Like if someone is having to, hey, I'm falling behind, come help me. Everyone
jumps in. No, I am gonna try to focus Like you've got, can you go to your slides?
Right there. There it is. Wait, that's the one. Risk 2, falling back into old patterns of behavior, missing out, leveraging our team resources.
But can you do this one?
This one?
Yes. Perfect. This is where I really want to hone it and not just go, okay, well, we're going to assume that, one person's just doing this huge chunk. I think it'll be really good to break it down into these little.
Well, I also know Steven wants to show us some stuff that he had done with the others group. Do you want to do that now, and then we can come back to this in case
sure.
Talal shows up?
Real quick, do we
that cool?
want to? I'd encourage you guys to keep the text the same, like consistent to what they would actually be looking like on a pill. So like you can make a pill really readable by changing the font to like Times New Roman or something that you can identify quickly. But that's not what it's going to be like for them. So the more we can imitate the actual shitty writing of a pill on the pill, the better. So yeah, I think times 2 the size would pretty much be the only change. But that'd be my encouragement.
Yeah, there's a lot of variability on because every manufacturer is going to put, they're going to have a different, because I think Dr. Enfield had said something about, well, what is it actually going to look like? And it's like, well, then you'd have to chase down what each manufacturer does, because it depends on who's manufacturing the product.
All right, so if it's not worth investing the
differentiate
effort there, then, okay. Yeah, if it's not worth investing the effort there, then let's not do that. Okay. Can you guys see my screen? 1 second.
Okay, let me turn off this one. I think I still have to end it somehow.
Yeah.
Stop streaming. There you go.
And here we go. This screen. Can you see?
Let me hit my watch button. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay, so this is our project. It was for my history class. You're playing as Toiparino Asasanga. She's an indigenous woman who united the Tongva people to burn down the San Gabriel mission, and you explore a 3D recreation of a 1700s mission. And in order to encourage the player to explore all the different details, there's these glowing memories where you're basically going around and collecting them, and you hear a voice line explaining what you're looking at. And so that was the shtick of it. I'll show you like 3 seconds of it. Those voice lines.
Finally, someone found my lost memory.
Yeah.
Names can be erased with time.
Alright. Anyway, so what I wanted to show off was right here. So in Collab, which is this top right corner right here, you'd have to sign up for it through the website. I can get you guys hooked up with that. You can see the revisions available. I accidentally made a copy, and so it shows the wrong file to show off. But basically, you list what you did. Added collectibles, memories, updated river basin. I just listed everything that I changed, and then I hit update now. And then all the other people in my team can see this update, and then Anne in my group, she actually got the changes in real time. Which was how it's supposed to work. But everyone else, even though it wasn't working, they could still see what I was trying to do right there. And then we combine that with Google Drive, where, if I can show you that real quick. We just made a bunch of different versions, each with a different folder. And so I think if we can get Unity Collab working, we can just do the update notes on Unity Collab. If not, then maybe under each folder inside of it, you can also include a text file listing the changes. Or a Google Doc, or I don't know what's easier for you guys.
I think it would be worth it to just part of our setup for the class, get the collab going.
We'd all have to, yeah, it would be like an afternoon. Worth it if we can get it working, not worth 2 afternoons spent on it. So, but
that seems fair.
What do you think?
Yeah, so
I mean, if we can get it to work, hell yeah, let's do that.
Well, and I want us to start on the same page. Like today was supposed to be us starting on the same page, and we're not yet.
Well,
so I get why.
Yeah, I'm recording this because I'm recording for them, so at least we're all looking at the same stuff, better than others.
Exactly.
And then we just harass them through text messages to Talal.
Exactly,
Talal.
To
do that again. I'm zooming in on your screen now.
Talal, where are you? We see you on the app. Why are you busy talking to other people? Why aren't you with your team?
I bet he's with other groups. Alright.
Oh my God, are you cheating on us?
Oh my God.
What
Where's
are
the
you
INS
cheating?
number? Okay, I want to report somebody. He looks a little suspicious.
Alright,
Oh my
so
God, somebody use
where
against
were
me later.
we, now?
Okay, going back to our skills or things to do. Page slide 10 and 11. So 10 are these. I just put where I saw the pill stuff. I put you and Gabby's name, Tara's and Gabby's name for now. But these are things I think anyone can handle. The button design consistency,
I can knock out the sound tonight. Like that's, or actually no, tonight I'm working on this. I could say by like Sunday or
well,
something. I just need a
I
fresh
think
version
that's
of it.
reasonable. Yeah. I believe. Oh, would we at some point we let people pick their soundtrack? That's something that occurred to me. Because I know not everybody likes the boom, boom, boom like my gay disco beats, but sidetrack. Button design consistency.
For the final game, I don't know if there's other
We can
musicians
have
on the
choices.
computer. I'd like to compose something.
Sure. Especially when we have somebody die. I want it to be sad. You killed him because you can't read pills. Adners. The hover effect on the buttons, the back button is missing from the reference screen. And I think some of those might have to be wait until the actual game's put together so it knows where to go back to. Could be wrong. On slide 11, or you're combining the 3 games into one. The spawning of pills, and that's like the colors and the numbers and all that kind of jazz. Again, the pronunciation of drugs, that was the question mark, just because if we were to do that. The scale text menus, I don't know how to do that, basically. That's what I'm saying. And the user.
You mean like the size or
what I'm thinking. What I just meant was like this second list we're showing now are things you can do, but probably have to figure out on our own. It's not something we've already done in a different class yet.
So the way that the way that I think we're gonna do the pills, like now that we're ready to do the part where he really referenced, like, hey, the gameplay is not doing what you want it to. Like, I can easily just go pick out these colors, right? So we need to make the color. We need to randomize the prefabs. So I'm just gonna put like I'm gonna create a blank pill. Or like it's going to have like various colors. There's going to be like 15 different pills of various different colors. And then we also need to randomize what's coming out. So it's randomizing the spawning essentially.
Well, we already have a randomization like not executable, action. I'm sure there's a word for that. Within C#, like that's used all over Bouncy Box. So if we just add that to different things, I think it'd be fine. As long as we're adding to talking about randomization, I would also encourage you guys to add randomization of starting level when it comes to the catching of the pills part. So you know how you're always starting on heart disease. Once I understood the pattern for that one, I was basically zoning out until I get to the next one. If you can make it so that next time you might be starting on brain, you might be,
Exactly. That's what we want it to do.
Okay.
Ideally, we just weren't able to get it there yet. So if we can do that, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want, so that you can have that like that. It keeps that gameplay going.
Yeah.
And the idea is that once you get to 100 points, at that point, you'll move on to the next level.
Are you putting me on that? Okay.
Well, you described it like, oh, I think knows what he's talking about. Great.
Well, I mean, so I know what it would involve. I don't remember how to do it because it was like the week I was really busy. But what it is that you put a randomizer command, then load scene, and then it would load the scene of the correct one. I can't remember the exact Unity action to load scene, but we did cover it. So.
Okay. I will just say, I'll leave that open. No, JJ.
Exactly. Perfect.
Just see what you can do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to the first list so we can assign people.
Can we get the 1 second. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay, this is the first group scheme, and there's a second list of things. Anything you guys want first? Maybe that's a better way to phrase it.
I'd like to talk about combining the games into one, just because I had some more nuanced notes of that. If I can share.
Perfect.
But that requires like a bigger conversation. Here, I'm going to share my screen for that. Here, can you guys see?
Give me 2 seconds here. Oops, close. I cancel. Stop streaming. There you go.
Can you see my screen?
Mine's still loading. I don't know, it's being weird.
Yeah, mine's still loading too.
Wait a minute, I'll just close it and reopen it.
Okay.
Or maybe everything will just crash on me. That sounds like fun. There we go. Okay.
That sounds about right. Everything crashing when you need it the most.
Let's stop that, and then we'll start.
Close that one.
I think it's because I tried to share it while you were going. How about now? Woo!
Ooh, we're in the internet.
Oh,
we're in the Matrix.
All right, sweet. All right, so Matrix. So this is what I was talking about. So ludonarrative synthesis. It's a vocab word from one of the week's readings. The shtick is basically make sure that the gameplay matches with the point of gameplay, matches the narrative of the gameplay. So so basically you have these different games, but they don't have to be different. And because you guys in the design doc emphasize the role of flow, we should basically encourage flow by avoiding ludonarrative dissonance. So basically, in layman's terms, when a player is playing the game, then something stops, and then suddenly their controls don't do what they're expecting them to do, and they're no longer in control of what they're expecting to be in control of. Flow is broken. Sometimes it's unintentionally, in case of like horror games taking away control from you or something. But in a 2D platformer or 2D side scroller, that's the opposite of what we're going for. And there's ways to keep like diverse gameplay while still keeping the narrative synthesis, and it's kind of it just takes a couple of tricks. So for example, like I give the example in Mario World, like this is a matching game, but when you're playing that on the SNES, you're not in control of a separate cursor for that. You keep the same jump controls, but you're just using the jump controls to manipulate something, and at no point is the player confused by that. They just go from next to next, and it keeps their attention and moves them from one mini game to the next. On the other hand, if you play Bonk's Adventure on SNES, I don't know if you guys know which one that is. An example of
I do.
Oh, you do. There you go. So you know how that game goes all the way.
He's a little primitive dinosaur guy. He had a big
okay.
and then land up things.
Yeah. So you're a primitive dinosaur guy, and then you step on a flower. So all of a sudden you're a volleyball. All of a sudden you're a cloud, and you have no idea what the hell's going on unless you grew up with the game and you play for 20 million hours. And so this is an example of flow being broken. This is an example of flow maintaining. You can do it by keeping the same controls, which I would say is the preferred method, although it will take some figuring out. But the other one is if you explain to the player that you're going to lose control through a story beat. For example, in Super Mario Land, it shows Mario walking up to a machine, and then it says crane game, and then it shows him using the machine. Suddenly you're not confused why your controls are now of this crane. That's if we can't figure out this one, maybe we just go for this one, and we explain now use the drone, which is your mouse or whatever, we can make it part of the story or whatever. So I'd say those two, and I would just encourage that just because it keeps the flow going. And so my suggestion would be keep the 2D controls always active.
Controls.
Yeah, and the mouse cursor always active as well. Keep both those always active, and then depending on what the player is doing, one of them becomes more useful than the other. And it may seem useless to have controls there that you're not using, but keeping it always available makes it so that the player is not broken as you switch between these two, as it does become one game. That's my shtick.
I think that was perfect when you said that. I'm like, oh my god, he's so right. The whole keyboard, the key thing. And also, I put right now on the document, I just had put intro, pre-game screens, I call it the in-between stuff. Like maybe as a team, we kind of sit down and talk about what it should look like. Because one of the things I was trying to do at one point was kind of storyboard how our game flows, but I couldn't because I wasn't sure. I'm like, how does this game start? Is there a little intro? Hi, I'm Rifus. I play with pills. That whole part is missing in the actual gamer way. We know that because we've fucking been writing it over and over.
Gabby wrote that in, that Pixis is trying to become
so
a little automated.
From your design doc, you implied that would be there.
But it's not there.
It's not there. It didn't get there. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So I
thought that was so cute and was like, hell yeah, let's do that.
My dog doesn't like me.
And I'll lead that.
Here, go back to that.
So
Okay. Yeah. So for the ×2 thing, all you gotta do is click the prefab and hit ×2 scale, right? Like that should also
and
adjust. And then
the times two was literally just what he had said, not that we agreed to it. That's what Jacob had mentioned.
Gotcha.
That was his solution.
Yeah, I wanna have something mocked up in the next week for the new pill, like what the new pill will look like with Gabby.
I don't know how to
And
do
that
hover
way,
effects, so that's just something that we're gonna have to learn in this class because I don't think we've ever
you don't know how to what?
do hover effects. Like unless we have a constant trigger running every frame, which is gonna slow it down a bunch. I think there's a better way to do it. So I would keep that blank until we learn how to do that.
Well, I think that was just for the UI.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying on the menu selection buttons,
the-
one of them had a cool effect
yes.
and the other ones didn't.
Like the start menu and all that, so it won't be
Well, I was
it
also
won't be
pitching
overly.
I was also pitching like a pre-level 1 level. I don't know if you guys read my whole thing. That
An intro.
Yeah, yeah, that would also involve hover effects as well. So if we can get that working, we got it working. But we got to figure out how to get it working. Hey, stop eating.
So would we do a different would we do introductions, like an introductory level for each, because the gameplay is a little bit different between the levels?
I
think
was
you have to.
in that
See,
ideal vision world, I was kind of imagining it all flowing. Just you're going from this to this to this to this because it's a side scroller. You start here, you keep moving, and then you go to this, then this, then this, then this. You know, no load screens. You just move. Yeah. What's that?
no, the whole thing's not a side scroller. One part of it's a drag and drop. One part of it is the little pill drop, like where it's coming from above. The pills are falling from above. And then then there's the side scroller. So there's a few different orientations there.
Are you gonna cover
We had
drug interactions, by the way? Like this med can't be with this med kind of thing.
The we're going off of the syllabus.
For the
And
course for the
syllabus,
nurses.
Okay.
yeah,
So don't touch
for the
it.
actual course. And they are going, like, I think they do more of that in Farm 2. So in Farm 1, they're mostly going off of the pills themselves and some of the, like, there is like a lot of the physiological aspects, but that gets a lot harder in Farm 2. So Farm 1 and Farm 2, that's where, like, if you could kind of think of the scaffolding in terms of, like, this is the scaffolding for them for Farm 2. So it might be worth me reaching out to Marcini and saying, hey, what does Farm 2 really look like, to make sure that we're not only covering Farm 1 content, but preparing them adequately for Farm 2. So, but we do want to keep it in, like, the
Phases of the
this
program.
version of Pixis needs to stay with Farm 1 with the goal of, like, helping them scaffold to Farm 2.
There's a group folder Tara has on the G drive. It's called Red Team. I think if you can add them to it, in there's a lot of the actual documents from the nursing school. And you kind of look at it, kind of gives you a bit like, oh my god, this is what they're talking about. This is what's happening.
Yeah,
Sorry,
send me all those. Also, if I can get a roster of like everyone's numbers, that'd be very helpful. And email addresses.
Yeah.
Look for Gabriella and Talal's on the men's restroom walls.
Dang. I'm
Sorry,
adding
just
you to it right now,
Gabriella's.
Stephen.
Get got.
Also, he talked about a back button from the reference page, and I think it was how to do. We had like a small screen that just had some like reference materials that would be available. That's there. I'm going to keep this. Do you guys see anything else you need to fill in right now?
I would just think basically. I don't think we should do it now, but I'd say next meeting. I'd like to focus the meeting on talking about combining the 3 games into one, just because I think that's a larger conversation that requires all voices to be heard, kind of thing.
Definitely. I also think though there's maybe some of these things can be done easier because the game's still broken up into pieces. But I don't know who's holding the best copy of it or the latest copy of the Unity files. I don't remember if it's Gabriella or
Today
Talal.
I'm working on 602. I've been same thing with tomorrow, so I'm not even gonna touch this stuff until at the earliest, like Sunday or Monday. So before then, just shoot me whatever version. What version of Unity though? That's big.
Oh, we talked about that, Tara. I know I had to download it. It says it on the file. Let me see.
Which one?
Give me a second. I have to open up my Unity. I don't remember. I want to say it's 2019.4.
All right, yeah, take a look.
Something, but
yeah, let me get the.
It's loading.
Yeah, so any 2019 is good. Just if you're on 2020, then like a lot of my tricks don't work. So.
Okay, 2019.4.19f is what I got it on, and I think that was consistent. The most
19.4.
Yeah, that's what I have.
4.9. 2019.4.19f.
19f. Okay, we were on 18f in the other group, so it's not too different. Okay, so yeah, I'll download that tonight. And did I need to download something unique to get it exported onto onto a web browser? Because I saw you guys had it on a web browser. Is that done post hoc, or did you need to know how to do that throughout the design process?
I think it was done after. I think through Unity, they basically set you up and click, 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 kind of thing.
Perfect. Okay.
All right. So our goals for the next 2 weeks is kind of finish out what we started, kind of get them all together, do all the adjustments, the easy ones like the pill size, and have that settled, and then have all the games put together. I think the goal is once we can get that done within like 2 weeks, every other level of these games should be a lot faster because we're basically just changing the information, not necessarily redesigning everything.
And then if we can really hurry up, then I think it would be fun to start talking about doing a 3D one too for.
Well, what if it's 2D but uses 3D assets? I think that's a good combo. Like what's your reason? Yeah, what's your reason for wanting 3D in the first place? Is it just because it's engaging, or?
Because you said it was cool.
I mean, it is cool. Is that the
No,
reason?
I was thinking it might be more like I don't really actually know the Farm 2 curriculum, so this would just I guess what I'm thinking is it might be kind of fun to collaborate. Like we get this one done because we started this one with the 4 of us, right? But then if we can move on to
the next phase,
onto the next one, and we like are able to go from Farm 1 to Farm 2, I think that would be really fun. And maybe with Farm 2 syllabus, it wouldn't be a 3D thing. Maybe it would be the 2.5. Maybe it would be more 2D, but then some different. I don't know. So I just think that it would be cool. That's pretty much it.
Can I get access to this? Because like, is this in the same Google folder that you'll send me the link to, like the slideshow?
These files I sent to everybody through Discord.
Okay.
So if you look under, I think the developers or designer, one of those, I think I put in all of them. If not, hit me up and I'll just make a channel and just start throwing stuff in there.
Yeah, and is it editable or is it on view only?
Yeah, they should be. They should be unlocked. If it's not, just click it and I'll just fix it. They changed the Google like permissions and it looks weird to me, and I can't for sure know if I'm sharing it, or if I'm just pretending to share it. See, I see this. And that's it.
No. Bottom link. Hit copy link at the bottom. That should make it so.
No, that's what you guys got, but I can't tell if you can edit it.
No, because
anyone can see it.
No. Go back to where you were. Down. If you hit copy link, it will switch it to edit mode. Hit that. Now go to change. Bottom left. Bottom left. Change. See the blue text that says change underneath anyone.
Oh.
Now bottom right. Viewer to editor. There you go.
Well, that's where it went. Okay. It's all hidden now.
It's on view only.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
If there's anything else that needs to be changed over.
Yeah, the only thing is just,
going through
I
that.
would say the combining into one game is a larger conversation that we can't even have until next week, because that's something that affects
That sounds fine.
And so I would encourage that one. You say that this should all be done within the next 2 weeks. I would say push that one to 3 weeks.
Mining games. It's Dalvis. Or
Push that to,
was that
like,
16, 17? Or 24.
Yeah, because like I don't think we should change something like that till we talk to everyone, and we can't. Can we here? I'm gonna stop the recording. Can we plan out when we're having the next one, just to get timing better? One sec.
Yeah, so we can stop.